Good evening. Regular meeting of the Windsor Heights City Council, Monday, March 16th, 2026. Roll call.
Susan Skiris. Here. Joseph Jones.
Here.
Lisa Harris.
Here.
Lauren is absent. She has the Zoom link, so she'll be fine.
Let's make sure your mic's on. Susan, put your mic on. Join me in the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag, of the United States of America,
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Lisa Harms.
Yes.
Public forum, this time set aside for comments from the public on topics of city business other than those listed on the agenda. No action may be taken. Please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and keep your comments to no more than 5 minutes. Consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Yes. Lisa Harms.
Yes.
5A, discuss renewal of 28E for library services between City of Des Moines and City of Windsor Heights.
Anybody here?
Is anyone, or is that just you, or are you talking, or is anyone going to?
Just me, just conversation point. The library agreement with the City of Des Moines is set to expire July 1st, coming this year. Prior to being with the City of Des Moines, we were with the City of Urbandale for their library services. Some historical information there in the staff report on this. Really just looking to get a pulse of City Council this evening to see whether everybody is happy with the services currently provided. And we should move forward with trying to finalize an agreement for renewal with the City of Des Moines. They have expressed an interest in that at a continued 3% increase up to 3 years. I did ask them what their anticipated changes in services might be over the coming next years, at least this coming fiscal year. They're not expecting any changes. They did note that there are potential budget cuts in the future across the city in fiscal year 28 and 29. So maybe a consideration for us and insofar as the duration of the length that we want to consider. But generally speaking, I haven't heard complaints from residents. I think one person has previously commented just a little bit of a lack of availability in digital services at the City of Des Moines relative to some other libraries in the metro. But just as a reminder, Windsor Heights residents are welcome to use any library in the metro, but the digital services are the ones that specifically are limited to the City of Des Moines. So welcome any feedback. If there's no concerns, we'll move forward with bringing a new agreement for consideration later in March or April.
I think they've been great to work with. They've attended probably 90% of our special events, coming out doing, I don't know what they did at Windsor Wonderland, but Windsor Wonderland Fall Festival, Movies in the Park, Earth Day, coming out in that. I'm going backwards in my seasons, but you get the point. The one resident, I believe we talked, unless there's another resident. It was just basically the one kind of genre that she really liked, that that author, that group didn't have many books at that time. I think we kind of walked through how she could. I contacted Des Moines Public Library, asked how we could look at kind of maybe bringing in more of these titles, and kind of explain to the resident how to do that. And I saw a few new books come in by that author. So they were trying to work. It's just digital is so expensive that, but I think other than that, she was happy with the staff too. It was just, that one, what she wanted to read wasn't there.
You said other than that, we had it. I
haven't received really much in the way of resident feedback. My experience working with the staff is similar to Councilmember Skiris. It's always been positive. My kids always enjoy their children programming at the Franklin Library. So
yeah, no, I would concur. I've had really good exchange and all the things. So I think it's more than we received previously too. So I really appreciate their engagement in our community, and I think that's what we need. So,
They provided a lot more, or they provide a lot more communication to us. I mean, I think it's weekly that they send out emails with new things or whatever they're doing at all of the city libraries, and that really wasn't anything that we received from Urbandale, and maybe things have changed since then, but I know that that's something that people appreciate because you can see all the free items. I mean, granted, they can go to it anyways and receive that email also for free, but just kind of nice to have all those options available.
Everybody comfortable moving forward with the potential 3-year agreement then?
Sounds good.
lock it in.
Sounds good to me.
Five B, consideration of resolution number 2026-18, a resolution approving a 2080 agreement with the Iowa DOT for maintenance and repair of primary roads within Windsor Heights.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Andy Larson, Public Works Director for the City of Windsor Heights. Similar to the 2080 with the library, the 2080 agreement with Iowa DOT is set to expire June 30th, 2026. This is kind of a standardized agreement that the DOT has with various municipalities throughout the state. Runs on a 5-year basis and really just outlines the responsibilities for DOT roadways that pass through municipalities and the jurisdictions. Just a quick kind of highlight of the agreement itself and those responsibilities. The DOT would maintain any state highway, which would be Highway 28, 63rd Street, or Highway 6, Hickman Road, on our east and north boundary of the city from face of curb to face of curb when it comes to pavement. They're also responsible for all the primary signage that is on those roadways. Municipality, our responsibility per the agreement would basically be face of curb backwards to the right-of-way line, as well as storm sewer conveyance system and anything that would fall kind of outside of primary signage and traffic services or signage, including traffic signals, which we have 2080s with our neighboring communities on those. So staff didn't have any issues. This is similar to the existing 2080 agreement that's already in place, but happy to answer any questions and recommend the approval of this agreement with the Iowa DOT.
I will admittedly not have read through this as well as I probably should have, but I know sometimes, and I've seen it, like we have huge potholes on 63rd Street now and again. And since that's there, I know sometimes you guys have done it because it's been an emergency.
Yep.
Is that acceptable? Are
Yeah.
they pretty good about that? Because I don't know.
We do have a very good working relationship. Where we sit and location wise to the DOT field offices is we're right at the convergence of the Carlisle garage and the Grimes garage. So we're kind of right in that middle spot. So the Carlisle maintenance garage maintains 63rd Street. The Grimes maintenance garage maintains Hickman Road. Anytime that we call or inform them of, hey, this is what's going on 63rd Street or Hickman Road, they're responsive. Sometimes we even just offer, hey, we can just do this since we're here. You know, if it's filling a pile, or specifically if it's something that needs kind of immediate attention, hey, we can just take care of it. And they're receptive to that. But that working relationship between both garages, both field staff at both garages is good, as well as the district engineer with the DOT that covers District 1. So
Good to hear.
Yeah.
Sorry.
yeah.
The season.
Yeah, it is. It is. We're in it right now. But 63rd Street, everybody's probably well aware that they jump out just like all over town too. So, yeah.
All right, move to approve. Oh, it is.
Yeah, Adam had indicated that there was maybe some internal discussion about giving 63rd back to the communities that line them. Do you know any more about that?
I don't know if it'd be challenging in the sense because the jurisdiction between us and the city of Des Moines would be center line of the road. The state highway was there before the development had happened, and I just don't know, just personally, what that knowledge is and how receptive, the DOT is to relinquishing state highway
Yeah,
or control over
A
state
little more
highways.
context on that is, there's a secondhand information that we received that they were looking at this in a broader stretch of 63rd Street. And I think the best I can tell, the DOT is shied away from that. I think it would take the cooperation of multiple jurisdictions, multiple cities to potentially turn over that 63rd. It has happened in some other
I think the
cities,
more common
but-
practice or application would be kind of a farm to market road that would run right through the center of town. Let's say, a state highway that's running through XYZ city, right? Where our situation is we're different because it's our bordering
Hmm.
neighbors to other communities. So there's already a lot of hands kind of in that area as well. But if you'd like to, we could further those conversations, but I don't know what really has come out of that in the
Sounds
past.
like a better plan to just have one
Yeah,
governing body over that rather than all the communities trying to, play their role in it.
Yeah.
But I was just curious. So
yeah. I mean, that would also be, I think in that situation, we'd be at the mercy of what's Des Moines' position to that, right? If, for conversation's sake, let's say we're willing to do that, right? Is Des Moines willing to take on their half of the road? And they might not be able to, or want to because of, they have thousands and thousands of lane miles. So they don't want to assume more maintenance and responsibilities on something that, would just require more time and resources too. So, but I think that's more common kind of in the farm to market highway that's kind of running through the center of a town where the DOT would relinquish it back to the city.
If we would take it over, is a big if. That would be on us to fix the roads then and repair the roads and put new
Correct.
everything on the roads, right? Which
Correct.
means money, right?
Correct.
Taking it over typically comes with a one-time cash payment for the never-ending maintenance that comes with it. So it's
We could stick with them having control of that and, if they want to take over 73rd Street from where we haven't also done road construction yet, that might be my talking point for them.
On that note, how do we determine who is responsible for the, on the merge lane to get on the on-off ramp, right?
Yeah, it would be the right of way boundary line. You can kind of see that delineation where that pavement kind of changes, and that typically is where that changeover starts to happen.
Is that clear in this?
I guess what it doesn't specifically outline exactly where the boundary is.
Okay,
No.
because I'll just tell you, there was an email that was sent because the potholes there are very bad.
Mhm.
And I sent an email, and I don't know if, were you here? I don't know if you were here or not. And the email that came back from the DOT was, we've been taking care of that. Not, that's our responsibility, which made me feel a bit uncomfortable because it was like, well, whose responsibility is it? So, can we make sure that that's their responsibility? Is that supposed to be their responsibility or?
Yeah, I'm just kind of reading through the. Yeah, I just go back to whatever this primary road is, so wherever that right of way line ends, where the city right of way ends, and the DOT would pick it up. So that would be something that we could reference back to the engineering map or have survey shoot exactly where that line is. I mean, otherwise it's not referenced specifically of where that actual boundary line is, but
Well, if there's no concern, that's
Yeah.
fine.
again, that's something too, where we kind of, it's kind of right on that line. So if we're out there, if we see it, we gotta take care of it. We're not gonna obviously go up the on ramp or on or off ramp, right? But if we're kind of right there and it's kind of in that transition zone, we typically just kind of take care of that if we see it, if we're there.
They probably do the same thing.
Yes, yep, yep.
Anything else? Bruce, you made the motion?
Move to approve.
Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Yes.
Teresa Harms.
Yes.
5C, consideration of resolution number 2026-19, a resolution accepting the acquisition of real estate interest and authorizing acquisition of such real property, 1122 65th Street. AJ?
Yes, we've reached out to the property owner of 1122 65th Street. As a reminder, this is a property the city has an interest in acquiring to facilitate this stormwater project on 65th Street, slated for fiscal year 27 in the CIP. After receiving some council direction, we've come to an agreement within the parameters that council previously set. Kind of offered the property owner two options. One, a discounted price to close soon, or the $65,000 to close later this summer after we've updated our urban renewal plan, an urban renewal area to allow us to utilize those funds for this acquisition for the project. He's elected to wait until later this summer. So my recommendation is to go ahead and move forward with the purchase agreement for the $65,000, the intent to close hopefully by early August or a little bit before. At which point we'll move forward with asbestos remediation, demolition of the property, and any trees that are in the way for the storm sewer. Set ourselves up for either a fall of 2026 or spring of 2027 construction of the storm sewer, implement the stormwater easements, and then if council would like, we can look at options to sell the property back or donate the property to somebody that's interested in doing single family or low density housing. The purchase agreement is kind of the stock purchase agreement by the Iowa Bar Association. Aaron's taking a look at that. Property owner didn't have any issues with it, so it's a pretty typical purchase agreement.
Sounds good.
Questions? Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Yes. Teresa Harms.
Yes.
5D, consideration of resolution number 2026-2021, a resolution approving an agreement with the Foundation and Thirsty Pigs for the 2026 Nights in the Heights concert series.
Move to approve.
AJ?
Yes, a little different this year, just in how we're bringing this to council. If you scroll down to the second page of the staff report, you'll see the map. That would be the prescribed service area for Thirsty Pigs for the Nights in the Heights events. This map's been created by staff, so that's my recommended service area for them. There's little pin drops in there of where I'd like to see signs, no alcohol beyond those points, kind of those intersections there where you'd be leaving that service area on a surface, on a sidewalk surface. The state has indicated that they like to see signed level of control over the property. So we had some conversation back and forth with the Foundation and Thirsty Pigs over what that meant. Spoke to ABD and arrived at our just typical pavilion rental agreements with authorization to waive the fee for the rental of that pavilion and the sound permit. And then that would give them the control that they would require for a 5-day license to serve beer and wine within that area. And they can close out that 5-day license immediately after that event. Last year, we utilized a combination of those 5 days and the 14 days. My understanding is the 14-day licenses are really there for the state fair. And so they have a little bit different rules for utilizing a 14-day versus a 5-day. And my suggestion is we require the 5-day for this year. Same cost for Thirsty Pigs, just a little bit more paperwork for them to fill out, but there is a new ABD website that makes that a little bit easier for them. So beyond that, otherwise, they'd have their typical off-duty police officer required to be hired and monitor the events. Happy to answer any questions.
So it shows that, and I don't know, I must have lost page here. I'm gonna go online to figure out what I did here, but it shows on like the staff report that they can terminate following, or that they would, which they can terminate following the event. Is that something that is something we can put into requirement? Because if they control that alcohol, then that permit, then nobody else can come in during that time frame and use. Like in that green area.
My understanding is nobody else can legally sell alcohol within that green area and that there is a liability element that would remain on that property with Thirsty Pigs for the duration of that. So it would be in their interest to terminate that license. I don't know that it adds any liability to the city. We don't typically have anybody else selling alcohol in that area. So if that's something council would like to see, we can certainly add that, but I'm not sure that there's an additional liability risk for the city or constraints on any other users of the likely users of the pavilion. But if that's a desire, we can certainly try to follow up with Thirsty Pigs following Nights in the Heights and confirm that they have terminated that. Adam, is that something you can see on the ABD website or?
I can see if it's canceled, but I don't know if it's. Yeah, I can see if it's canceled, but I think that's all I can do.
Okay.
And then, just the resolution, so it shows that like we're in this also, should we be listed as like the person, like in this agreement, because we don't really have the agreement with Thirsty Pigs, right? Thirsty Pigs and the foundation has the agreement, right?
Thirsty Pigs as the beer distributor would need to hold control of the property. And so our pavilion rental agreements, I guess I would like to see both the foundation and Thirsty Pigs be a signatory of that, primarily because I think that's what the state will want to see when they review the application, the 5-day application.
I guess my only concern was it hereby approves the agreement between City of Windsor Heights Foundation and Thirsty Pigs, but it makes sense the way that you say that. I was thinking that we had some type of different agreement, but if we're trying to get them both on that pavilion agreement, instead of just having the foundation on that agreement, like we've done in the past, then that makes sense.
What would the cost be, if we did charge them for the pavilion?
8-hour rental is, I just looked at it today. No, I looked at non-resident. I think 60, yeah.
Thought that's what it.
Okay. So would we technically be, if we were to charge, would we be charging the foundation for that? Or would that still be Thirsty Pigs?
Somebody would need to pay us
Okay.
to approve it if that's the direction.
Because, I mean, I don't know what they make, but I think $60 is $60 that the city would be willing to take. It's not a lot. And they're making sure well over $60 at that event. So I know it's a community event,
$70.
but if there's opportunity to bring in revenue.
Yeah. Completely council's discretion. Their foundation is an organization we do fund every year, but there's a cost to us to help manage these events as well as time and preparation and staffing out there. So
We also reserve the CEC for these dates, right, as well? Don't they have those checked out? Just so that we can, if we're doing like a cost analysis for the foundation to say this is what
I want to say we've done it different ways in different years. At the very minimum, we alert any potential renter of the conflict. That would mean that the parking lot is typically full. Now it's Tuesday nights, so we don't typically have a renter out there. But I don't want to say that we've always completely barred rentals, but I think that has been the practice at times.
I know that there's not many people that will probably take advantage of the Wednesday. However many days that wherever that would lead us to. I just always get nervous that we could lose some type of event because they have a monopoly on this. If Teresa's family wanted to come in and, it's it's just always a concern of mine when we provide them with 5 days of that whole entire area. And I guess that's always my concern. I wish there was like a 1 day or even a 3-day would be better so that they could pick up the alcohol on Monday, bring it there, or the beer on Monday, come in on Tuesday, it can't, you'd have it be done on that Wednesday, but I don't believe that they offer those.
Yeah, the other thing that can complicate this, and I've just left well enough alone since this has been an event that's gone on for some time, is they, as the renter holding the license with ABD, can make the determination of whether they would like to allow outside alcohol into that service area. So that is their decision. If they have control of the property. Now, our park policy per ordinance is people can bring beer and wine into the park. Correct me if I get anything wrong there, chief. But it does create kind of this unique situation where a resident could choose to bring a cooler full of beer into the pavilion and listen to the concert and not pay for a beer with Thirsty Pigs as part of that concert event. And, obviously the music's the draw. The beer pays the bills along with donations. We could complicate the relationship is my only thought if we move towards trying to charge fees for it. But my guess is they're probably doing all right.
I don't think I'm interested in that. I think they've been a good partner. I think it's an offering. I was thinking exactly what you just said, which was people can bring in their own if they want. And so I do know in the early years it was, they were not making a lot, it was about a building something. I don't think they're killing it by any means. But I think it's just part of what I think that event that the foundation has tried to build. And I would say that it comes back to the foundation then as a whole on whether or not we're going to charge the foundation, because we're not charging other, like the food vendors, then, you know what I mean? So, I mean, yes, they have their permit fee. Thirsty Pigs has their permit fee. That's part of it. So I think that would go above and beyond than for that perimeter space. I just think it's out of context of what we've otherwise done or how we've facilitated or handled that.
Yeah, because
The only loophole is the liquor license may have some. When you would like from.
Well, if you want the people online to hear you, you do.
Hi, Pete Roth with the City of Windsor Heights, ROTH. The only thing that changes it is that they've been becoming more and more a designated alcohol, a beer and wine area that's covered by a liquor license. I'd have to check with the ABD to see if that allows, like, you can't bring an outside liquor into a bar because it's covered under a liquor license. The park, you can drink beer and wine in most of the time, bringing outside food in as well, but there may be something that we would never bother anybody bringing, like they bring coolers on all the time, and they sometimes beat the setup people there anyway. So I would have to just look into that legality on that. So
That was a topic I talked with ABD, and it's at the discretion of Thirsty Pigs as the licensee holder, whether somebody can bring outside beer there. If they asked us to enforce it, I think we need to take a look at our ordinance, given how our ordinance is currently drafted. But it hasn't been an issue to date. They've been okay with people bringing in alcohol to the events. Yeah, I don't know that we've had a lot of disturbances at them, but
No.
yeah, that sort of a change could spawn some other changes, I think, in our ordinance or fee schedule.
I don't think it's ever been an issue with outside, as long as it's not hard liquor, we're good. So.
Okay. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Susan Skiris.
So what are we doing? Are we, just so I know, we're not charging them and we're not requiring them to get rid of their 5-day? Is that what we're saying?
The resolution waives the fee for the amplification permit and for the pavilion, and it says that they should cancel their permit. If you'd like us to take an extra step and confirm that, we can certainly communicate with Thirsty Pigs and check into that after each event.
I didn't see, I saw it on this. But I did not, it's not, I'm sorry, the staff notice, but I did not see it on the resolution that I pulled up. And that could be my lack of reading. Give me that.
I don't believe the resolution requires that they terminate it. It's just, that's the conversation and that's the expectation on them.
So do we have any legal grounds then if, say, somebody comes in and they're holding this, we say, well, they can come back and say it's not in the resolution. I mean, that's just my.
I would certainly hope that we could talk through that and they would resolve it, but yeah, if that's a concern, that can be added to the resolution as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, is that even allowable to put in a resolution? Or that requirement?
Well, when you approve the license, you could also try to address it then and seek that confirmation, because at this point, we have not received the licenses through the state. So this will be back in front of council to actually approve those licenses, those 5 days licenses at that time. But yeah, we are the ones leasing the space. So if that is the requirement of waiving that fee for the lease, I would certainly think that you could add that in.
Sorry, continue on. Sorry, Mike.
It's okay.
Just wanted to make sure I knew what I was saying, yes or no to.
All right. I'm glad. You have any more questions?
I think that's
Okay.
it.
Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Fletcher Berry.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Susan Harms.
Yes.
Reports. MAC was canceled. Not sure why. It gets canceled sometimes. We had MILAG. We have heard from Central Iowa Waterworks. Some discussion around trying to be proactive if we are going to potentially face a watering ban. Well, we don't want to call it a watering ban, but a suggestion to maybe water less. And I think that they were very receptive with that. Had MPO funding committee coming to the end of working in the safety scoring system for the STBG funding. So I'm sure Bolton and Mink and Justin are really looking forward to the 160 questions that are now going to be on the STBG applications. I think it used to be 120. Now it's going to be 160. So I'm sure they're looking forward to that. I'll have the remainder in my report next agenda. Ms. Harms.
I don't really have much, just the legislature and the governor signed legislation to ban local government civil rights councils. So that was signed into law last week. The Senate passed their version, or excuse me, out of committee. It's eligible for Senate debate, their version of property tax bill, and I sent that over to Adam. So we kind of have a snapshot of what that looks like, feels like. I think we're a distance away from something like that really fully going into effect, or what comes to the floor, because it has a hefty price tag for schools to backfill the schools portion of the property tax cut. REC met, Revenue Estimating Committee met last week, and there's a larger cut to state finances, so or expected revenue coming into the state. So that's all I got, I think. Good times.
Barry.
Joseph and I met with Cub Scouts to dive a little deeper into the structure of our government, from the local level up to the federal level and the election process. Susan and I attended the Polk County Strategic Plan planning session, and this is a pretty big undertaking for the county, so I encourage all Polk County residents to provide their input. attended Wake Up in Windsor Heights at Hard Space Massage. This continues to be an event that's a successful networking opportunity for Windsor Heights businesses. And I encourage you all to attend Hard Space's ribbon cutting next Tuesday, the 24th, I believe. It's the 24th. I don't remember what exact day it is, but good way to celebrate a new business here in town.
Mr. Jones?
Yes, since our last meeting, we had a DART meeting. We discussed the audit, talked about our next discussion being around Bus Plus, particularly the analysis around that. We talked about the implementation of the new network starting in June. And then also our FY27 budget with the April 7th meeting being the public hearing for DART's budget. We also got Amanda's mid-year report. You also probably know that since that meeting, we have been informed by Amanda that she is resigning as CEO of DART. So her last day at DART will be May 9th. We as an executive committee have met, and now we'll have a special meeting of the commission tomorrow to discuss next steps and how we go about replacing Amanda as CEO. And to Fletcher's point, we survived the Cub Scouts, but we also brought snacks, and that helped.
Gary's.
So I attended Metro Waste meeting where we discussed the pending battery bill. Don't really know where we're at with that, but hopefully it's moving.
Filed soon.
Also hosted a film crew to interview Leslie Ehrlich. She's a finalist for the Girl Scouts Inspiring Women of Iowa, like the Courage Award. The lunch for her is like in May, so that was kind of cool to see the film crew in and wondering what we were doing and why they didn't tell us ahead of time that they would be filming. But hey, completed chamber pop-ins while listening to She Leads Government Virtual Forum led by ICMA. It was great to hear from women in local government across the country about innovation, and I realized I can't listen and talk at the same time. So attended a ribbon cutting and then returned back to that facility for Fen City Coffee Connection, where I talked about our special events and kind of promoted them within that group. I also toured the Saylorville Water Treatment Plant with Sparky, which is a Metro Waste version of Platt Stanley. He was sparking up conversations, which really, I didn't mean that as a pun, but it just happened, about battery disposal and why we need to make sure we don't put lithium batteries into the landfill. Then Wake Up Windsor Heights with Fletcher. Then, let's see, the Polk County Strategic Planning with Fletcher again. I sent out an email to the council with the survey link. As of that Thursday, so last week, there were only 76 surveys completed across Polk County. So obviously it's not been promoted very well. So I would like to have a wide demographic to ensure the plan is effective. If you need the contact info for the plan coordinator, just let me know. I did see that Uplift sent out an email with the survey info and times for feedback sessions on Wednesday or Thursday of last week. So if you need that, I can also send that out to you. Looking ahead, the 18th, well, I guess that's Wednesday. We have Public Works meeting. The 20th, we have a special events meeting. And then been busy planning Earth Day, April 25th. Urgently need volunteers for the stream cleanup and also for the Earth Day event. We currently have 2 people signed up for a stream cleanup. So if you could help promote that, that would be great. If there's any questions about stream cleanup, please refer them to Andy, as he is in charge of the cleanup adventure. May 1st is our first movie in the park. I'll have the volunteer sign up ready this week for all of the movies. May 22nd, Touch a Truck is coming from 5 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. We have a few more sponsors that have signed up for this event from the emails that I received. We're still working on food trucks for this event, as some have not been very good about getting back to us. So Ashlyn with the Children's Museum and I have been working on this event together. And as a side note, the museum is currently selling their tickets for the Giggle Gala in April. It's April 6th, but don't quote me on the date. So if you can't attend the event there, there'll be raffles and silent auction items to bid on. I promote this here because they really do a lot to help us in special events. That's it.
Road project update.
Adam, anything to add to that other than we're very eagerly waiting Corey Summerine to provide it?
Extremely eagerly. Nothing to add outside of the report, but looking forward to wrapping that up.
Bet you are.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Fletcher Berry.
Yes.
Teresa Harms.
Yes.
Monday, March 16th, work session. Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Here.
Joseph Jones.
Here.
Fletcher Berry.
Here.
Lauren Campbell.
Did you mute her?
I said here, sorry. I keep muting and unmuting because I don't have a headset. Apologies.
Here.
All right. Item 2, strategic planning session. AJ.
Yes, so this is envisioned to be the first of potentially 2 or more strategic planning conversations, ranging on a number of different topics. This evening, we have kind of a comprehensive look at the employee benefits package, and then some conversation on the future of PSAPs or dispatch for our public safety team and what that might look like going forward from Westcom's perspective, or else from some state legislative changes. Starting first with the benefits, just bullet point number 1 there. We'll look at moving towards in the handbook going forward, providing $150 payment for those employees electing for no healthcare coverage with the requirement that they do have that coverage elsewhere, and $100 payments for those that have employee-only coverage. And
So
hopefully,
remind me, we do that now or we don't do anything right now?
currently, we only offer compensation for those that have employee-only coverage. We do not offer any compensation for those that elect out of the healthcare coverage at all. So if you are as an employee receiving healthcare just for you, not the family plan, you have a $150 stipend, and we would reduce that down to $100 and instead be paying $150 for those that elect for no city-sponsored healthcare plan.
Okay, so I have a question. Why are we most places, and again, help me out here if this is otherwise we're paying completely for their family plan?
There is an employee match or a contribution to their healthcare, but I think the reason for the payment to an individual with employee-only healthcare is to encourage them, if they have a spouse, to also utilize the spouse healthcare plan.
Right. So I'm coming back to, most people, my staff are the same way, right? So help me figure this out. So I'm trying to figure out why we're paying people to have them take an employee. So if my staff works I've done this personally myself. My staff has, my husband has an employee benefit through it costs X number of dollars. I have it through my employer. It costs X number of dollars. To add my family, it's X number of dollars. To add family on his, it's X number of dollars. People look at it and say, okay, what's the better plan financially, or what's the better benefit, right? Okay. So I understand how that works. My question is so each individual employee needs to look at that and say, okay, it's this or that. If they're going to buy into this, then they need to pay that, because otherwise they'll take this, right? I mean, they need to look and see. I don't think we should be offering a financial incentive for anybody to take an employee because they don't take our insurance or don't have that. I also think they should be paying for their family provision if that is the situation. That's my personal.
Can I ask what the employee contribution is for employee only coverage and then the employee contribution is for employee plus family?
You can, and it's very low. It is $32.50 for a family plan and $13 for an individual plan. And that is programmed in our budget for next year to be increased.
I think where I've seen from my background in payroll, HR, outsourcing stuff, what I think is most common that I see is that employers will offer employee only coverage for free or at no cost for the employee, and that the employee plus family takes on a little bit larger share. And so that, like in the example that Teresa said, that somebody's looking like, okay, well, I'll put me on my insurance and then my spouse will cover them and the kids, right? Like that becomes part of that cost share, part of that formula of deciding what's better. I think paying people for going employee only and also having the benefits that cheap, it does seem like kind of a sweetheart deal that I think it's worth looking at. That's just my 2 cents.
So how much, so we're paying single coverage, we're paying $408 out of the city, right?
Yes.
And that's a month,
Yes.
and we're giving back 150 if they don't, if it's single coverage and they don't take it, is that correct?
Are reading that correct?
Okay.
And remember, this all went through council years ago. This is how it's always played out since I've been here. This is how it's played out. So this isn't something new.
I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying that I think I asked the questions back then as well and made and expressed concern with it.
And I think now that we're in this budget situation that we're in, we need to rethink and look at,
Absolutely.
you know, I know part of the perks with the state was you had good insurance for less cost, and by the end of my career, single coverage, what you were starting to pay, and family coverage, you were starting to pay more, and that was a few years ago. I understand that we want to incentivize them to use, if I'm understanding why we're paying them, we're incentivizing them to use somebody else's insurance so that we're not paying. So we're coming out like $250 a head a month on the single thing. So that I understand, but the coverage is, I mean, that's.
So the only thing I would encourage council to keep in mind here is that there are increases planned. Now, we're not at our time frame in which we change our premiums. And so those decisions are down the road, but we do have a budget passed that is going to increase that, likely at least double that. And so I'd be just very cautious on how we tweak other elements of our healthcare contribution plan as we start to make those adjustments, because I'm anticipating there will be several years of adjustments to get us to probably a 10 or 15% contribution rate of employees for their healthcare coverage. That's what I'm seeing as more of a standard practice in municipalities. I think in the private industry side, it's probably higher, but we at least need to be at a point where we're close to where our peers are from employee contributions in other municipalities.
Well, I think at some point in time, somebody's gonna have to pull the Band-Aid off and be realistic. You have, and this is why, again, I look at all of the things. We look at compensation, private, you wanna go private versus public, and state versus local versus county, for all of these things. These things don't exist in the private sector. You want the compensation to be the same, you know, to be competitive within the private sector. Then you've got all the benefits, including healthcare and all of the sorts of things. You've got your what's the word I'm looking for? Your guaranteed wage increases annually. Then you want the merit-based increase as well. And so you've got all of these things, and our economy is not great, and I have a feeling that it is and yes, I will make these comments based on a feeling, it is not going to get pretty anytime soon. And so I'm going to be realistic about where we are in our budgeting, and that the fact that we need to be very conservative in our thoughts and our approaches at this very moment in time. And at some point in time, probably sooner rather than later, we're going to have to be making a decision about what we do and what we don't do, and and maybe people that have jobs or don't have jobs, because that's the reality of our economic situation. And so if you want to hunker down and say, I need to have $13 a month health insurance or $26 a month health insurance because that's my priority, then that's fine. You can have that conversation. I don't think you're going to stay there, because that's not what the rest of the real world is doing. So it's easy. You all come with these recommendations, and it's all coming from the staff who it benefits. So I'm sorry if that sounds crass or whatever, and I'm not meaning to be mean or disrespectful, but I'm just being honest and real about what's happening in the real world. And it's happening at the state level, it's happening at the county level, it's happening for these cities too, and they're having real conversations. And it's about time we have a real conversation about these issues at this dais.
I still think even if we double at 60, let's call it $65 and at $26. If I could
Too
do that,
small.
I would be super happy. Cause ours and my deductibles and everything are sky high. So I think that that's part of the perks of working for the government, for the state, for cities, but we also have to be realistic with where we're at with money and that we don't have it.
When you say it's going to be increased next year, as far as the increases, are you talking about these increases? What the employee paying?
The employee contribution towards the healthcare will likely, according to the budget, of course, council can weigh in on that, double next year. Now, some of that I think will depend on what that healthcare coverage looks like as well. Is there interest? Maybe this goes back to an employee survey side or something like that, of reevaluating the level of healthcare coverage that we provide as a city.
But we are in the co-op. So the co-op that has its own parameters.
But we do have some flexibility on some of the benefits that we provide. And that could be a way of adjusting for cost increases to some effect as well.
Question, do we have, from that co-op, what other cities are, what their employee premiums are? Or do you have access to that? Or is it already all the same because we're in the co-op?
No, each city determines what their employees. pay.
Gotcha. I think that could be some really interesting data points for us. Because I mean, I fully acknowledge that the benefits are a huge part of when somebody's making a decision of going to a new employer, right? It's often provided, what the benefit options look like are provided when you have an offer letter. But just again, to both Susan Teresa's point, when where do we make cuts? Where can we make cuts and not have too much negative impact?
So just because I just crunched a number. So AJ, you said that on average 10 to 15%. So if you go 15%, 15% is $61 of $408. So we are a fraction right now of what other communities are doing. We're beyond competitive in that space, beyond competitive.
Well, I'm thinking specifically about the other cities. I get in the private sector, totally, 1000% agree, but.
This is specific to, he said, what other cities are doing.
Sorry, thank you.
So even at, 408. This is where I'm not a mathematician.
408 again.
That's single coverage, right? So.
Or that we pay.
equals, it's like 1.5%. If I did my math right. 15% would be $62.
Okay. So what is do we want more information? Is that like what the ask is here? Is that what council wants?
I mean, from my perspective, I would like some more information about what the employee share is for some of the other cities that are in the metro, because really that's who we compete against, right? For our employees. I think that would be really interesting. And I think it could be worthwhile to do some sort of employee survey on where their priorities are and where they would like to see us prioritize as we're making cuts. So as we're, looking at the budget and looking at, as Teresa said, our need to be even more conservative in our finances. I think an employee survey could be some useful data for us.
So I have a question, the $32, so that's if you do employee plus family is $32 total.
$32.50. Yes,
That's comes out
Holy
of
crap.
paycheck?
yes.
I said I would love.
But remember, benefits were a prime drawer of employees.
Michelle, you need to
understand.
quit defending. I'm not asking for that.
I'm not defending. I just want you to be aware that that's where, when I came in, that was like the prime driver was our benefits. This is beautiful.
I've been here longer.
We
I get it.
understand, we
I know.
understand. I guess, but I'm asking the question. So you're saying $32 out of every paycheck. That's it?
$32.50 out of every paycheck, yes.
Okay. Wow. I pay like 130 and I work for the state. So that's really good. I might have better insurance, of course, though, because I work for the state. But yeah, that's.
I pay $2,000 a month.
Well,
There you go. All right.
I'm a public employee, so.
I'm trying to provide perspective is what I'm trying to provide.
So it sounds like council would like more information about what other cities their employees pay in. That's on this topic. Okay.
So of this cost, this 1,003 for family insurance would be $150. Would be your 15%. So perspective, that's where my mind is minimum where we would be.
And then when we are looking at that insurance, are we able to see kind of if co-pays are we able to make sure that we're not just looking at their pays, but also like
Yeah.
we're comparing apples to apples and not apples to.
Well, but that's because you're in the co-op. So they have select plans, that'd be the same plans, I'm assuming, that are still available. Those would be the thing. All you're talking about is the difference or change in their, how much they're contributing to their existing insurance offerings or options.
Wanted to see, make sure that we're. Apples to
Yeah,
apples.
you're not going from a PPO to an HSA and then changing. I get it. Yeah.
Because they don't, yes, pretty much the same coverages.
Yeah.
What's the next topic?
Back to longevity.
Yeah.
I believe I've got feedback from that off prior conversations, so.
Sorry,
unless-
I'm being summoned and I'm gonna drop, but thanks for letting me join. Sorry that I couldn't be there in person, and greetings from the Sears Tower. All right, bye.
Have a good night. So longevity is at $6 per paycheck currently. Unless there's further conversation on that, we will plan to leave it at that $6 per paycheck.
I think we need to have a longer, more in-depth conversation about whether or not this stays. Or how does that fall in relation to these other benefits?
The next item is non-union merit bonus pay policy. So currently the policy is council allocates between 0 to 3% of non-union wages for these payments each year. That's budgeted for 0% this coming fiscal year. Last year it was budgeted at 3%. The average of 2.3% was paid. That was totaling approximately 33,500. There's a few items sub-bulleted under that. If there's interest in looking at revising that policy going forward, one would be if you'd like to keep the policy as drafted today, the timing of that may be considered to be pushed back so that you have the full fiscal picture from the previous budget year before making a determination on whether there should be a merit bonus paid or not. It was suggested during some of the one-on-one conversations about requiring a seniority element beyond the 6 months that's currently required to be eligible for merit pay. And then when we look at merit pay, one thing that's cropped up is with our police lieutenants. If you look at their wages, which are at about 108,000 a year, that falls about the middle of the range for our existing police union officers' annual pay. Now that does include overtime for those that would be getting paid more than $108,000. And some of them work more overtime than others. But it does get uncomfortably compressed, in my opinion. The current salary for lieutenants, particularly when you remove merit pay, when you look at potential for union increases above that 2.7%, whether that comes to fruition or not, and what they're getting paid when you look at some of the hours that they work as well, because they are on call approximately half of the year and do other after hours activities, committee events, special events, partnerships with schools. So that's just one thing to keep in mind when you look at how that merit pay impacts different groups. You'd be pushing the current police lieutenant's wage a little bit further south of kind of that middle cost for the union police officers that are working overtime, whether that's mandated overtime or overtime that they're electing to work. There's probably a combination of that, but a lot of it is required overtime, just based off of staffing needs.
I think we need to do something so that we keep our lieutenant or lieutenants with the amount of work that they do, the responsibility that they have. I don't know what that looks like. How we can make that successful, that is contingent on their performance reviews or what, but you know, it's not great for the morale when you're working 60 hours a week and you're making less than 3 or 4 different police officers that are kind of working the same hours as you are. I mean, they understood that coming in as a lieutenant, that they're salaried and these things happen, but it's still kind of hard to stomach when your raises aren't to the extent that maybe the people that you supervise are.
I'm okay with keeping merit here. The council makes the decision on whether or not there's resources to do it. I do also think that I don't know that 6 months is long enough.
I think we should add, are you talking about like 6 months of employment to be eligible for merit pay?
Yeah, I think
I
it should
think a
be
year, 2
2
years,
years.
maybe even 3 if need to, but at the very, very least a year. I mean, probably pushing more towards 2, but.
No further comments on that one. Item number 4 is the deferred compensation language. So that is included in the employee handbook and with some variation in all union contracts as well. Last year, we paid approximately $52,000 in deferred compensation. You can see the current employee handbook language there. The city shall match the following percentage of salary to a deferred compensation plan in which the city participates for employees pursuant to the following schedule. And then it goes 3 to 5, 6 to 10, 11, 20, 21 plus, and the percentage of employee salary in there. Looking at other employee handbooks, I've yet to find one that does not require the employee to contribute that equal amount to be able to get that deferred compensation. So if you're in the employee of the city for 3 years, you would have to contribute at least 1% of your salary to that deferred compensation plan to be able to be eligible for that 1% city match. So that'd be a change I recommend that we adopt in all of our collective bargaining agreements as well as the handbook policy going forward.
I agree with that.
That's what I have to do. I think that's what everybody has to do
Not here, though, not here.
from now on.
So jumping back to the kind of benefits review spreadsheet, so that'd be page 70 and 71. That's just kind of an overall look of, again, what I could find from looking at handbooks, and we can certainly do a deeper dive into that. It's hard to get apples to apples in a lot of these, and it's hard to find some handbooks across cities, but wage competitiveness is maybe the one area that we're less competitive compared to other cities in the immediate metro. Of course, there's a size consideration there, and we take that into account when we do our salary study. Longevity pay, as we noted, generally competitive, although cities vary widely. Deferred compensation, which we talked about, and I think there's a consensus to move towards requiring an employee match. I would say that would still keep us competitive with what other cities are doing. Merit pay bonus, that's an unusual policy for most cities to have in place. That was adopted by the council in 2021 in line with some pay scales that were below some salary study ranges, and some additional benefits were added at that time. And I think we've seen movement on some of those pay scale ranges since that 21 timeframe, though, as well, towards closer to market. PTO, vacation sick leave policy. Most cities that I've seen, and Aaron may have comments too, are still on sick leave. So it's a little difficult for me to make an apples to apples comparison on that. But from my past experience in another city, I think we're competitive on what we offer for PTO accrual based off of years of experience. PTO carryover, when we did the handbook overhaul, my recommendation was to reduce that maximum carryover by 100 hours. And I think that brings us fairly well in line with the other cities that I've seen that have PTO policies for carryover. Number of holidays, council recently added in 2024, Juneteenth and New Year's Eve. I think that puts us in a very highly competitive position for the number of holidays that are offered by the city. Tuition reimbursements, that's something that's typically offered by cities. I think our reimbursement rates appeared pretty competitive with what I've seen in others as well. And then disability insurance and life insurance. Not all cities offer those, but quite a few do. And it looks like we're fairly well aligned with some of those. The short-term disability and policy in particular looks like it's probably highly competitive.
So are we paying the entire? Are we covering the entire net for both of those things?
Yes,
So
for the disability and life insurance.
yes.
Yeah.
All right. Is there, I mean, I know when I worked for a nonprofit, we had to pay a portion. Can you get us, like, what are other cities doing in that space? Do they have a buy-in?
My limited experiences is that for,
Okay, well, you just find out.
sure.
Okay, thank you.
The next page is some less common benefits that I came across when looking at other handbooks. I won't go through each one of these unless council has any specific comments, other than just noting that our PTO payout option is highly competitive. Again, lots of cities on vacation sick leave. There are some benefits of doing PTO payouts as opposed to trying to staff for that PTO in some union situations. And the paternity maternity leave is something that was added to the last handbook, which I didn't see in a lot of handbooks, but I do hear conversation among cities somewhat frequently about adding that in there.
State just added it too a few years ago, or this last year, so.
I think the only thing that I was looking at, just because I've been involved at a few different times, I looked at Clyde, I looked at a few different handbooks myself. And Clyde gives a $250 a year foreign language incentive. And I just think of how many times Zeke has helped, like with a lost kid, trying to figure out what's going on here, trying to do this. Road construction, I understand he might have been used at different PD places. And I know we're trying to get rid of benefits, so that I kind of am contradicting myself on this. But I think it would be nice to give him just a little bit of an incentive to maybe continue his kind work, so that we don't have to try to call the translator line and go through that process. I know it's available, but still you're going through multiple steps to get there. So I'm sure he does it because he's a good guy and a hard worker, but that would be my only, and again, I'm completely contradicting myself when I say I want to get rid of benefits and then I throw this on. But at least I admitted it.
You just have to be sure to offer it to everyone.
Well,
That is
yeah.
a second language, right? You couldn't just offer it to one.
But I mean, I was just giving that example.
So unless there's other comment, kind of next steps I'm hearing is there's some additional research to bring back to a future strategic planning conversation, and perhaps at that point be able to kind of look at what sort of overall package we're wanting to offer and make some changes in the handbook at that point. Our next strategic planning session is planned for April 6th. We will continue to work through these union negotiations, so that's one thing to be mindful of. We can target bringing back this next conversation on April 6th instead, if you prefer, so that we can try to get ahead of those union conversations. Otherwise, we're going to be at the tail end of those, and it may be difficult to implement any changes that we wish kind of across the city. You might be looking at doing that in 2 or 3 years after those contracts are back up for negotiation.
I know you gave us the handbook. Was that for us to review as well and talk about at this session, or? Because I do have some questions, concerns, more questions that I don't recall reading last time, and I'm sure it was in there. I just didn't read it. So I didn't know if how you wanted to handle that.
I included it in there just because a lot of these benefits are cited in the handbook. Want to make sure you have that as a resource in there. But if there's an interest in revisiting or taking a look at any of those at this point, happy to do that.
I mean, I'd have to send an email to you, or however the rest of the people here would like me to handle it.
We still have one more item yet this evening, so if you want to start with an email maybe, and we can see what gets resolved through that or what needs to come back as part of the overall benefits discussion in April.
As part of this research, could you put together just like a generic individual and what the total cost is, like add their wage, longevity pay, the merit, everything that the city pays for a generic individual? So I'm having a hard time.
Total benefits.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time putting it together just by reading it.
That tomorrow.
Okay, yeah.
Email that tomorrow.
Yeah.
We have.
Okay, that'd be good.
I'll just do one that is at a higher salary and the highest level, maybe even getting the longevity, so you can see all of the things combined.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Line item down,
Absolutely.
right? Okay.
Yes.
All right, well, we'll look at bringing this back either April 6th or 20th for further conversation then. The last item we have for tonight is some conversation about Westcom and potential changes that may be coming to Westcom or PSAPs across Iowa and the metro. Handed out a white paper that was originally put together by West Des Moines staff as part of conversations that have been taking place at the Westcom management meetings over the last 4 or 5 months. I've revised some of that information to make it more Windsor Heights specific and take into account where we're at in the process of joining Westcom and our costs reflecting in there. I wasn't planning on talking through this whole document, but I guess I'll just kind of give you a quick summary of where I feel like maybe we're at and maybe where we should consider going, depending on how the ground may shift here in the next year or more. Nobody is currently a member of Westcom has stated they intend to leave Westcom, but I think there is a general concern across most of the Westcom city members that everybody is experiencing double taxation. And so no matter what county you're in, the county is assessing you property taxes for their dispatch service. That's true in Polk County as well. And then Westcom as an organization is also charging then a fee to each of their members on a per capita basis to be a member of Westcom and dispatch through Westcom. And as budgets tighten, I think that is a growing concern among everybody that double taxation isn't equitable and that we'd like to see it addressed in some fashion, either by reimbursement from counties for a per capita basis of those property taxes being paid for them, or there could be interest in somehow adjusting how dispatch occurs. And so we are a provisional member. We have voting rights as a Westcom city. At the end of next fiscal year, our contribution to Westcom will likely transition us to a full member, which means we would own a share of assets that Westcom holds. And at the same time, we're seeing some state legislation that could require consolidation of PSAPs, maybe on a per county level, which has its own challenges in the metro because many of our Westcom partners cross 1, 2, 3, or 4 county lines. And so how do they consolidate into a specific county dispatch operation is a challenge for them. We, of course, are fully in Polk County. But one other option that is out there potentially as well is Polk County Emergency Management, which has a governance structure more similar to how Westcom operates, which is various committees, police chiefs, fire chiefs, city administrators, other technical expertise that govern how that organization runs. Polk County Emergency Management currently under state law has the right to establish a levy for dispatch services as well. And Polk County Emergency Management is governed by elected officials on the budgetary side, the 911 board, and then various chiefs, city administrators representing various other aspects of emergency management as well. And so as potential consolidation potentially moves forward, that may be one option for us as we look at the city of Des Moines, who's also experiencing double taxation and has their own PSAP internally. And then the sheriff's office has the other one in Polk County. But there are a lot of significant infrastructure investments that are going to be necessary both in Westcom and for each of these other PSAPs in Polk County and elsewhere in the metro over the next 3 to 4 years. Tens of millions of dollars, most likely per organization. And the compatibility of those towers, radios, ownership of those, Westcom owns their assets through ISIX. Polk County leases theirs through Raycom. How those interact with each other and how each one of these geographical locations for dispatching occurs, and the towers, because each of these entities then owns their own towers, which have various receivers for each of these organizations on them typically, would interconnect is very challenging, I think. And at the end of the day is probably $40–50 million worth of investments to unify everything into one service, onto one software platform in one geographical location. And so I think this will be a conversation that's going to continue probably for the next year or two. But we are subject to what other municipalities in Westcom might do. If West Des Moines were to leave Westcom, they are the agency in charge. So every employee of Westcom is an employee of the city of West Des Moines. And that would necessitate a pretty whole-scale change for Westcom then to move over to another city to be that host. And then Urbandale and Clive being our closest unit response partners on the fire and EMS side, our ability to maintain that relationship also requires that we have the clear ability to communicate through whatever system we're on and whatever system they're on to be able to manage those systems as well. And so there's both a service level component there, but also a revenue piece as well, since a significant number of our calls get generated outside of Windsor Heights for fire and EMS. So not really looking for any specific direction or action here on this tonight, but I just wanted to make sure that everybody had a general awareness of some of these items that are in movement or in progress right now in the dispatch world, because there may become a point in time in the next few months or next couple of years that a decision does need to be made on our side of how we want to operate going forward on dispatch. But a lot of ground to cover there. Happy to answer any questions you might have. The chiefs are also a great resource on this. They work more closely with the software, but it's been a conversation, I think, with all three of us as we've worked through on migration onto the cloud in the last couple of weeks, and encryption also occurring here in the next month or so as well.
So maybe best case scenario is state doesn't force consolidation. And then we don't have to be double taxed, basically. For that to happen, I think it said in here that would that require state legislation for that to be changed?
If there's no state action, we would still be experiencing the double taxation issue that we are today. Maybe I didn't understand the question correctly.
So there's the state legislation that's saying potentially forcing us to consolidate. But best case scenario, that doesn't happen. So then we're still under the same parameters. We're being double taxed. To be refunded, that double taxation from the county, correct? Would that require state legislation for us to get reimbursed by the county?
To require the county to do that, I think the answer is yes. The county could elect to reimburse cities that are not being dispatched by them on a per capita basis to reflect that double taxation. So far, we have not heard much in the way of interest in doing that. The counties could also charge cities that do utilize their dispatch service the total cost of providing that dispatch. So right now, if you are on Polk County dispatch, your city would be paying a fee, but that fee would not cover the majority of the cost for those dispatch. So if that full cost of operating a dispatch for those cities was charged to them, presumably the county levy rate would reflect those costs being paid by the city as opposed through the supplemental county levy or the general taxation that they would use that impacts Windsor Heights residents.
So if the state does require consolidation, that would kind of maybe be helpful in a way too, right? I mean, I use that term very loosely, but at least the double taxation would not occur because we would, Polk County, assuming that it would be Polk County, Des Moines, Westcom, that would be kind of all together just because of the geographical area, then that might reduce our double taxation as well, correct?
Yeah, I think it would bring about the question of what software platform we're using, what radio equipment we're all using then. And it would create some challenges for most of our other Westcom cities that are not wholly or even majority in Polk County. But for us, it would potentially resolve at least the double taxation issue.
Well, and maybe even Dallas County would come in, you know, Dallas, like Warren, the places that already utilize Westcom. You know, at least that's one ray of sunshine if we have to consolidate, use that. But
We have 99 counties, 104 PSAPs, not including the universities. They each have their own. The consolidation bill is not moving this session. They're interested in the conversation. Yes, there's a request to increase for the surcharge. You know, in some counties, the emergency management is the facilitator of the PSAP or manages them, right? Some counties, it's the sheriff. Some counties, you might have 2 PSAPs. We have 3. And then you have counties like Lynn and Scott that do it and that have one central, you know, they've done it countywide, right? And so there's a whole different variety in Polk County, mostly because the county insists on being on the Sarah system outside of everybody else's in Essex. We made a conscious decision. This council, this community made a conscious decision to move to Westcom. We paid a hefty fee, right? We had to come up with a lot of resources to do that. I don't remember who was all sitting here when we did that, but we made, I knew you were here. I think Joseph was here. Mike, you were here. I don't know if you were mayor or on council, but we made a conscious decision to do that because it was the right thing for our community, for our officers, for all of those sorts of things. You know, personally, I think Polk County is being stubborn. That's an opinion, but anyways, do I think it's something that's on the horizon? Yes. Do I think it's something that's going to happen tomorrow? No. But I definitely think we need to be conscious of it, and I think we need to be aware that probably something is coming down the pike, and it'll be interesting because, you know, at the end of the day, you're going to have a new administration. Regardless, you have a governor who's retiring and a lot of legislative turnover with retirements and all those sorts of things. So it's going to shake things out differently and see who makes it a priority. But this is definitely a conversation that folks are having to figure out how we can be more efficient, and especially as local governments are, the conversations we're having are definitely more tax. So, yeah.
So the forced consolidation wouldn't necessarily break up Westcom. And would it then force us to be dispatched through Polk County?
No, because you wouldn't have, the PSAPs would have to come together and decide how, the community, I shouldn't say the PSAPs. Communities would have to come together to decide how they're going to do that within the county makeup. I mean, it depends on how the legislation reads at the end of the day, but yeah. And there is a way to avoid the double taxation today, and that's just to do a countywide levy. So there is a way to do it.
just how do we get there? How do we?
You have agreement, and we've got division. My 2 cents.
Anything else, AJ?
That's all for me.
Do we get to keep this?
That is yours to hold.
The same thing you emailed us correctly?
That is.
Yep.
All right.
Move to adjourn, was that everything? I think that was everything.
Roll call.
Susan Skiris,
Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Fletcher Berry,
Yes.
Teresa Harms.
Yes.